Right, I saw a note in the chat that someone was unable to hear me, so I just want to do a quick check. And so if you can hear me, give me a thumbs up either on your, all right, I'm seeing some thumbs up. So, Sai, can you, oh, there she got it. Okay. Right, thank you for that. Appreciate everyone's responsiveness and assistance. And I will try to speak up. I see also that it's not very loud. So I will turn up my microphone on my end and see what we can do. So thank you for letting me know that it's a little difficult. All right. Thank you all for being here today. We are going to go ahead and get started right on time so that we can have enough time for all of your questions and get those answered and hear all the updates from the state staff. So once again, we do appreciate you taking the time out of your day in the midday to be with us. Today's meeting is being recorded so that we can post it online for anyone who would like to hear and anyone unable to make it. So you can always access these recordings on the KDAD's website. And Sai's going to put that link in the chat for us so that you have it. And before we get too deep into our conversation today, I'm going to invite Alejandro to unmute. And Alejandro is our Spanish interpreter, and he's going to provide instruction for how you can access that interpretation if you need it. Alejandro, please go ahead.
Okay, I'm sorry, I'm going to say it in English and Spanish just in case, because I don't know who's listening and who needs the help. So in English first, there's supposed to be a button underneath your screen. It would say English or Spanish. If you select English, you will be listening as is, like the conversation between the people. But if you select Spanish, you will be only listening to me. Now in Spanish. Para la gente que habla español y no conoce el inglés o no tiene conocimiento completo en el inglés y se le dificulta un poco entender, en la parte inferior de la pantalla va a aparecer un botón que menciona inglés y español. En caso tal de que necesiten el idioma español, van a seleccionar español. Si van a escuchar inglés, si seleccionan inglés, solamente oirán a la gente que está hablando de tal forma como es. Si seleccionan español, me estarán oirando es a mí.
Great. Thank you so much, Alejandro. And we also do have ASL interpretation available, and that is provided by Russell, who is, I think, named today as Juliet. So that is available as well as our captioning. And I will go ahead and start interpretation now. So it'll take just a second for that to get switched over. All right, I believe that should have done the trick for us. All right, well, if we haven't met before, I'm Carrie McMahon from the Community Engagement Institute at Wichita State. Also on the call today are my colleagues, Cy Rogers and Lisa Jones. If you need assistance during today's call, please message one of them so that they can help troubleshoot and make sure you are able to have a great connection experience. We're facilitating these calls to help keep things moving and to help with taking notes. This is a series of bi-monthly meetings that KDADS hosts to share information and updates about HCBS services in the state of Kansas. Please visit the KDADS LTSS Commission webpage to stay up to date and for additional information. We cover things at a relatively high level and share information and updates, but more information is on the KDADS website. And again, we'll share that link a few times in the chat. A couple of things for you to be aware of to help make this a great meeting for yourself and others. Do not click on any external links that are not shared from WSU staff or KDAD staff, and we will announce if there's a link in the chat you should pay attention to or might want to visit. We do sometimes get bots who are trying to share some other kind of information, so we don't want anyone to get a computer virus or come into other harm. we will have time for you to ask questions about the updates you hear. And we'll do that at the end of our conversation so that we can minimize disruption and hear the updates throughout our time today. I recognize, though, that we go over a few different topics, so it would be helpful for us when you ask your questions later, if you can remind us what the topic is, so that we can help get you to the right person and have a little bit of context. When we get to that portion, for your questions, and you will have the opportunity to say them out loud or put them in chat and have Sai read them for you. If you have a webcam, we do invite you to turn it on, but that's certainly not required. You can participate however you feel most comfortable. And finally, we recognize that due to capacity limits on Zoom, not everyone who wants to join today was able to get registered. And so we wanted to give a quick reminder that these recordings are always posted online for review for folks who, for any reason, are not able to participate, and be on the lookout for those invitation links to get registered early before things get full. Those invitations come out by email if you're on the listserv, and you can reach out to KDADS to get added to the listserv. And those are also posted on the KDADS website at the link that, once again, we have shared and will continue to share throughout our time today. And that, I think, is all of our housekeeping. And so we're going to chug right into our updates from KDAD's staff. And they are going to cover our somewhat usual topics. So we'll hear information about any staffing changes, Medicaid assistance percentage or FMAP, waiver renewal and amendment updates, policy updates, and updates to the settings final rule. And with that, Megan, I am going to hand things over to you, and we will are excited to hear your updates. Excuse me.
Thank you, Carrie. Good afternoon, everyone. I just have a few staffing updates that I want to share. Teresa Singh, who was previously with Policy and Program Oversight Division, is transitioning into a role for FMAP, and she will be the Person-Centered Support Program Grant Coordinator, and she will start May 28th. We have also put out 2 more offers for the FMAP team. One is for the Training and Grants Coordinator, and the other is Technology Grants Coordinator. Lee, would you like to provide your staffing updates?
Yeah, absolutely. Hello, everybody. So we have a couple new hires on the HCBS side for the waivers. Sam Philborn has joined us as the TA and SED program manager. Christy Leonard has joined us as our HCBS quality and program coordinator. So I believe Sam is joining us today. Christy could not be with us. And then just as a reminder, because I wanted to put their information in the chat, we'll be talking a little bit later about the community support waiver. That program manager is Jessica Shadle. So again, I'm going to share their information in the chat just in case anybody wants to reach out to them directly. Thank you.
And this is Megan. I also forgot to share that Mohammed Naeed UI Islam is also our support specialist here for policy and program oversight. He started a few months ago, and many of you have probably seen some of his emails come through on the listserv. He's done a great job maintaining that correspondence. So if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to him in regards to the listserv. I think next on the agenda is FMAP, and I can go ahead and take that. Currently, like I said, there is 3 new staff that will be transitioning into the FMAP roles as the PCSP grant coordinator, the training and program grant coordinator that will handle behavior health initiatives, and the other individual will take over the technology grant coordinators, which we will be developing an RFA for those grants very soon. Currently, we have 2 initiatives around training grants, and they are the direct service worker initiative. I know many of you who are on the listserv probably saw the flyer where they are looking for direct support workers to participate in the pilot of the training and are paying a stipend to provide that training. If you want more information about that, please reach out to Mitzi or myself and we can provide you that information. We also were awarded a technical assistance grant from the ACL for TA for direct service worker state learning collaboration, where we were going to get some assistance from some subject matter experts. More to come, information to come on that. Very exciting. We are finalizing the contract for the bidders for the career ladder for the direct service workers. So probably by the next stakeholder meeting, we'll have more information on that. The Employment First study, there is an upcoming meeting at the Topeka Workforce Center for the community team of Topeka and Shawnee on May 21st at 5:30. Reach out to Mark Ditzler if you have any questions around that. The waitlist study for IDD and PD continues to batch individuals to meet the study numbers on that. The targeted case management study is coming to an end. There are currently no more meetings and the study has been completed. We will share that study as soon as that information becomes available. We currently are reviewing bids for mobile crisis RFP for individuals who living with IDD. I expect that contract to be awarded by the time we have our next bi-monthly meeting. The behavioral management family training pilot done by KCAR. They are putting trainings on Facebook, Kansas Family Support, Central Social Media, YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook monthly newsletter. And I'm happy to drop that link in the chat for you guys so you can have some more information on that. The person-centered planning, charting the life course. We're working on finalizing that contract with UMKC, and we did send 5 individuals from KDADS to attend the Community of Practice Leadership Series that will go through July 2nd. And as I stated before, we have hired someone for the technology assistance grants, and those grants are being developed, and we will have the RFAs probably within the next month or 2. That's all I have for FMAP updates. I'm going to go ahead and roll right into my policy and program oversight division. And policy and program oversight has been working with innovation strategies, or some of you know Brutus Sturgeon that used to work here and be in my position. He is the head of the MFEI project, Medicaid Functional Eligibility Instrument, and we are working to implement that tool for IDD assessments by 1/1/25. PD and FE are expected to be rolled out mid-2005. And my goal is to provide as much information on this to ensure that this transition happens smoothly. KDAD's website is in the middle of a transition period. We expect for it to change by July 1st. So a lot of this information is kind of limited on what we can put out. We want to ensure that stakeholder information is accessible and policies and any waiver amendments, public comment we have is available, but some things like the MFEI projects will probably continue to distribute through the listserv until that website gets put into place by July 1st. Current rate increases will go live July 1, 2004. Please look for the KMAP bulletin to share those rate increases. If you have any questions about that, please reach out to me. Current policies we have for public comment is the quality assurance policy. and that is out until the 1st of June. Thank you for your public comment for the ongoing monitoring, errors, and transition policies. Those policies are making their way and being finalized through the policy process. And when they are complete, we will send an email on the listserv to share where they are posted on the KDAD's website. And if you have any questions about the website transition or any policies, please feel free to reach out to me. And I'll turn it over to Lee.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Megan. So updates on the HCBS waivers. So currently on the website, it is posted for public comment, our TA amendment. This includes standardizing of the performance measures, which we have across the board on all the waivers. This is part of our reporting and accountability with CMS. So it includes those, and then also updates to language in section C2D for anybody that has either looked at the waiver online in that PDF form or potentially looked at that waiver amendment. We're clarifying language for legal guardians, active durable powers of attorney, and family as paid caregivers. So if you are interested and haven't had a chance to check that out, please do so. We always look forward to having feedback from our stakeholders. Our FE and PD waivers are currently in a renewal status, so we were developing those. We are partnering with WSU on our stakeholder engagement. So we hope to have more information for you pretty soon on when those sessions will be held, both in person and virtually, so we can make sure and hear your voices and your input for maybe adjustments or adaptations to the waiver prior to us posting those for public comment. So more to come on that. Our BI and IDD waivers, we have recently renewed. We are still in conversations with CMS, but those have been submitted. So that is kind of a little bit of an ongoing project, but we hope for those to be approved very soon. We also have amendments kind of back into the hands of CMS. This includes the unbundled assistive services. So really great conversations with CMS as we've walked through that process, and we hope to have those finalized very soon. Moving on to the community support waiver, we are working with a contractor to develop that waiver. It is very important to us that we stay close to our stakeholders during this development process. So more future information to come as we develop that on how we'll be able to reach out to you, how you'll be able to get information to us. But again, I dropped in the chat Jessica Shadle's email information. So if you do have input or would just like to reach out to her directly, you're always welcome to do that. The last thing that I have is that we do have a big waitlist offer round about ready to go out for our PD waiver and IDD waiver. We're putting out at minimum 500 per waiver, and we anticipate those offer letters will start going out by early June. So we're very excited for that process. Lots of people involved in that, but great opportunity to get more folks into services. So pretty excited about that. And that's all for me. Thank you.
Great, thank you so much. I know we've had a lot of folks who have joined us. So just to catch you up, we are currently hearing updates from KDAD's staff about things changing in their world. And after we get through our updates, we will have time for your questions, and you can ask those out loud or through chat. But we do ask that you hold on to those questions until we get to that portion of our meeting today. And so we do appreciate that. And Seth, I think you are up with our final updates on HCBS settings.
Yeah, so just kind of a quick high level overview of where we are with the settings rule implementation. Many of you probably saw the notice that went out a few weeks back about some of the heightened scrutiny changes. So we are kind of right in the middle of the cleanup effort there to resubmit our heightened scrutiny list to CMS. So I know the team is kind of hard at work getting that revision down. Basically, where these changes came from is, just in further discussions with CMS, we've been able to kind of narrow the focus a little bit to more align with what their intentions are for flagging settings as heightened scrutiny across those 3 different domains. So if you are a provider and you do have settings subject to compliance activities, and your heightened scrutiny status has been in kind of a pending purgatory status, you should start to maybe get a reach out from the compliance team here with the change. Otherwise, if you don't have any reach out, then your status hasn't changed. So we'll kind of leave it at that. Our ongoing monitoring and transition policies are both active and effective as of, I think, a number of weeks ago. So we will be adhering to those policies moving forward. So we're pretty excited to kind of have a formalized process finally in place for everyone to kind of follow along with us on. But of course, there's still some more implementation activities around how we triage complaints and those sorts of things. So we hope to kind of continue to iron out different things like that as we move forward. Statewide right now, we do have a settings rule RFP that's going to be going out statewide. We've got some that was out. We put out the RFP. We've got proposals in right now that we're currently reviewing, so I can't really say a whole lot more beyond that, other than we hope to have an award out by obviously the next time we meet. So we'll hopefully have some more information in this meeting, the next bi-monthly meeting. Beyond that, we've got some technical assistance that we're going to be taking part in with NCAPS, which is the National Center for Advancing Person-Centered Practices, I believe. So they're going to be working with the state in kind of a limited capacity to help us kind of focus on rights restrictions as it relates to kind of the protections that the rule affords, and how that kind of intersects with the person-centered service plan and support plan that the teams develop. So we've got a small team, both state and stakeholders who are kind of involved in that technical assistance with NCAPS. So that is all I've got for settings rule updates at this point in time.
Wonderful. Thank you, Seth, and everyone else for sharing your updates and keeping folks informed about what's going on. We are going to get ready to open up the line for your questions about the updates that you've heard. And once again, you can share your questions in chat or out loud. If you'd prefer to ask your question anonymously, you can message Cy, send him a direct message, and he'll read that message for you. And will not attach your name to it. If you want to share your comment out loud, please use the raise hand feature. And I put a picture in the chat that shows you where in your toolbar to find that. It might look a little different on your end, and but it should look like that in general to raise your hand. And for me, that's in the reactions button in my toolbar. So yours is probably close to the same. If you dialed in by phone only, you can raise your hand by hitting *9. And then when I call your name, you can unmute using *6. So again, if you're on the phone only, you can raise your hand using *9 and then use *6 to unmute when we're ready for your question. I also want to give a quick reminder that to make sure we can hear from as many people as possible and to respect everybody's intention for being here, KDADs can only really discuss and answer questions related to the topics that we covered in this meeting. So those updates that have been shared today. If you need their assistance for something other than those updates, then please reach out to them outside of this call, and I know they would be happy to assist you and answer any questions you have. And we are ready for our first question. If you would like to be the first, you can raise your hand, or you can start dropping those in the chat, and we'll keep Sai busy with the chat questions. He'll read those for you. Just a quick reminder also that KDAD staff are going to respond as best they can, and it's often difficult to remember things on the spot, so there might be follow-up needed. So just always ask for a little bit of grace. And to that end, please remind us if you can what topic your question is about. So sometimes we cover a lot of topics very quickly. So if you can remind us what you're asking about, that'll help us get you a great answer. And Sai, I see we've got a few questions in the chat if you want to go ahead.
Yeah, and I'm going to go through order in which they were received here. The first question that I see in the chat is, what is the timeline for changes to the TCM model to comply with conflict resolution?
Yeah, we don't have a timeline right now. We're still, PCG is actually going to be submitting to the state a final report here shortly. And so, from a leadership perspective, we're going to have to take a look at that and kind of make a decision about which model we might be going with. But we've also had discussions about maybe reaching out to some other experts just to sort of validate the work that was done, so we can make sure that whatever route we do go down, that it's done carefully and with the utmost kind of consideration for everybody who might be impacted.
Thanks, Seth. I'm also, Carrie.
I was just going to tell you to keep going. We don't have any hands raised.
Do you know when the updated HCBS rates will be posted on KMAP?
Yeah, I posted the, do I know when? I'm sorry.
Yes.
I'm not sure it's making its way, but they will be effective 7/1. I can send that email when the rates are posted to the listserv if that's helpful for everyone in case they miss it. If that works.
They haven't responded, but I'm going to guess for them that they would appreciate having that sent out through the listserv. I bet they would like that.
Beth, feel free to keep going. Or, I'm sorry, Sai, keep going.
Any news regarding the Money Follows the Person program?
Yeah, I'm happy to take that one. So at this time, not a significant update. We have been meeting with CMS regularly to try and balance out what we feel would be most beneficial for Kansas from that program, and also in comparison to the pretty heavy reporting requirements that they're asking at this time. So I don't have a straight answer for you. I can tell you that we're continuing to talk about it and evaluate. And I can drop my email in the chat if you have any kind of further specific questions or input. I'd be happy to look over that.
Lee, thank you for that.
Right, before you read the next one, I wanted to acknowledge the question in the chat that it looks like resolved in the chat, but there was a question about an updated organizational chart, and Lee got some clarification and is gonna see what she can do to get that updated and on the website. So I just wanted to acknowledge the question was there.
We had a question in the chat about further information on proposed rate increases. and if they'll be available on the KDAD's website. And Megan responded letting the person know that it will be posted via AMAP bulletin and then provided a link. So if you're interested in knowing more about that, feel free to follow that link in the chat and you should be able to find out more information there. The question about the organizational structure that Carrie referenced, if you'd like to know more, there were some answers put in the chat, but that they'll be addressing that organizational structure chart. Next question, how were the stakeholders selected for the group Seth mentioned about PCSP and rights restrictions?
Yeah, we had to go with a pretty small group, so we wanted to make sure we had some representation from kind of all different points of view from the system. So we just reached out to a few different folks that we knew would be highly engaged in this and provide some really thoughtful feedback and just engagement overall with the TA. So that's kind of where we were at. It basically just had to be a fairly small group with the contractor, and so that we kind of based it on what their recommendations are for kind of a group composition.
Okay.
And Seth, to kind of piggyback on what you were saying, I have a question. What is the meeting Seth mentioned for supported employment at 5:30?
I think that was me that mentioned that. And I just had the notes from MIPSI. I believe it was a community engagement opportunity. If you have any questions around that, Shelby, can you email Mark? I can drop Mark's email in the chat.
And that brings us up to speed on all of the questions in the chat.
Thank you, and great questions, everyone. If you have a question that is still forming, feel free to think on it for a minute and then ask it. And once again, you can raise your hand and ask your question out loud, or you can drop that question in the chat for Cy. And if you would prefer to remain anonymous, you can send that question directly to Cy and he'll ask it on your behalf. While you're thinking of your next questions, I do want to remind that the link for these, the video recording of these meetings are available on the KDAD's website. Today's meeting recording should be available later this week or early next. And you can always ask or access that information there. And also later this week, registration for the July 15th session or update meeting is going to be sent out later this week and also posted on the KDAD's website. So keep an eye out for that if you are looking forward to joining us again in July. And please, again, be on the lookout and register early. These sessions have been filling up very quickly. So we want to make sure you can get in there.
Carrie, I have a question in the chat.
Sure.
Is there an update on the IDD reimbursement rate study?
So we are looking into that. We have a couple of options that we're reviewing on how to complete that study, and hopefully we'll have more of an update in July around that. But thank you for asking.
What other questions do you have today? Heard lots of updates.
I just kind of want to piggyback back off what you said, Carrie, that, these meetings have been extremely successful and we've had more people than we thought would want to register and be a part of the meetings. And I know a lot of you have emailed the HCBS email when there's an issue with the link. And most of the time, if you are getting an error, that's because the meeting is full. And so, thank you for your patience with that. And as Carrie said, these meetings the recordings are posted on the website. So if you're unable to register for the meeting, know that we will provide the update via the website. But I just wanted to reiterate that point. And thank you everyone for making these so successful.
Yeah, participation has been incredible in these, which is awesome to hear. And it's great for folks to want to get these updates. I do see your hand up, Cy, and then Nick. Go ahead, Cy.
Yeah. What is the intended consumer demographic for the community support waiver, and how will potential participants receive communication on this?
I think maybe that was a two-parter. Can you repeat that for me? To make sure I
Yeah.
get the right answer there.
What is the intended consumer demographic for the community support waiver?
Sure. So that's still being developed. I mean, the initial goal is that, we're trying to reduce folks that are on that wait list, or help identify folks that are maybe currently on the IDD waiver that would be better served on the community support waiver. So I would say that's, twofold with kind of another third layer is, looking at our current population that's being served or waiting for services, and figuring out what service array is going to be on the community support waiver, so that they can decide if that would help them be successful and independent in the community.
The second part of the question was, how will potential participants receive communication on this?
Sure. So if somebody is already active in the IDD waiver, or if they're on the wait list, they can anticipate some future communication either from KDADS or the CDDO or both. For folks in the community that are newly coming onto the waiver, we will be doing some marketing and outreach that we hope will reach a pretty wide audience. But again, we'll be partnering with the CDDOs as well, as kind of an entry point and a good source of information to get that out.
Megan. And Nick, I see your hand up. Please go ahead.
Yeah, and I'm sorry if this was touched on maybe and I missed it somehow, but the IDD waiver is, the end date or the last date that we can have it in operation without getting it reapproved is July 1st. Just making a point that that's a hard date. Do you have any updates? Do you know where you're at in terms of we had the public comment period. Typically the state then shares the public comment that it received publicly and with CMS, and then there's what I understand, sort of a 30-day back and forth conversation usually with CMS. I don't know if you feel like you had to settle every single issue that was addressed in the draft, or if those could come in, or if there's more things that could come in as an amendment in the future. I would imagine that that's kind of where some of the conversation is. But do you feel confident that it's going to, be reauthorized July 1st? Would we get to see a final version of it before July 1st? Those are my questions.
Yeah, so we are confident in that timeline. There's no reason that I have to anticipate that we will not be able to hit that. Currently, CMS has provided some feedback and we're looking at that. But yeah, I don't have concerns about the timeline.
Do you think we'll get to see the draft before July 1st? Or I guess it'd be the final.
So the final approved, it's not finally approved until it's finally approved, until CMS gives that official stamp on that. Once they have given their official stamp of approval, then we would be at liberty to share that.
So you don't know if we'll get to see it before July 1st, I guess is what I'm saying. And I understand, those decisions may still be getting worked out. So
Sure. So if it's approved before then, I don't think there's a restriction that I'm aware of that we would not be able to share it at that time. The July one would just be the effective date. You know, if we're 2 minutes to July 1st and we're still waiting for that approval stamp to shoot it out, Nick, I'm gonna have several more gray hairs than you're seeing today. So we truly hope we're gonna get that approved and be able to publish that so that the community will be able to take a look.
Great. Thank you, Lee.
Of course.
Thank you. Sai, have you gotten any additional questions directly? I'm not seeing anything.
All quiet in the chat box.
Once again, if you have a question about the updates today, please do drop those in the chat or raise your hand to ask out loud. And won't keep us artificially long if we're wrapping up on questions. So we'll go ahead and make this our last call for questions. So if you've got something forming, go ahead and get it out there. And if not, we'll wrap up things a little bit early today. Well, once again, we thank you for joining us today and being a part of this conversation. And look forward to talking to you again at our next session, July 15th. Once again, registration for July opens later this week, and that link will be posted on the KDAD's website and sent out by email if you're on the listserv. If you don't get those emails, please reach out to KDAD's so that you can see, get added to the list. I'm so sorry. So again, if you need to get added to the listserv, please reach out to KDAD's and add your name so that the invitations and link for registration gets sent directly to your inbox. We appreciate all of your questions, and the recording for today will be available on the KDAD's website. So you can visit the KDAD's website if you want a reminder or to share what you heard today with others. And Sai, would you mind one last time putting that information, the link for the KDAD's website in the chat so folks can find the recordings later on? We will talk to you all again in July. Stay warm.
Thanks so much, everybody. Have a great day.